to the Sustainable Napier Committee for Thursday, the June 2024. Can I just get everyone please to stand for the opening karakia?
Tawa mai runga, tutawa mai raro, tutawa mai roto, tutawa mai waho, kia tau ai te mauritu, te mauri ora, ki te katoa, haumie, huie, tai hie.
We'll get underway. So I have two apologies, that of Councillor Bogue and Councillor Price. Can I please have a mover for those? Councillor Taylor and Councillor Crystal. All those in favour?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, no, yep. Right, got any conflicts of interest today? No. No one in the public forum? Any announcements by the Mayor?
Thank you, through the Chair. Just wanting to give a reminder to everybody that we have our Matariki festivities this Friday night, which will be on the corner of Tennyson and Hastings Street in our CBD, starting from 5:30 and running till 8:30. There will be lighting displays, a number of different performers and entertainers, and then plenty of food trucks and food offerings. So encourage everyone to pop along and enjoy the evening.
It's going to be a fantastic evening. No announcements by me. Any announcements by management?
None.
No minor matters? Not on the agenda? No. So I'll just get a confirmation of the minutes of the Sustainable Napier Committee held on the 16th of May at the wonderful McLean Park. Can I have a mover of those, please? Councillor Gregg, seconder. Councillor Brown. All those in favour?
Aye.
Carried. Okay, so we'll move into our first agenda item, which is the Unison Easement Taurau Clock Tower Reserve. And I would like to invite Brian Faulkner and Tania Dyke up, please. Thank you. All yours.
Marina. Look, this is a straightforward procedural matter. We're just seeking Council's approval to the granting of a consent in favour of easement, in favour of Unison Networks for electrical installations on and under the Taradale Clock Tower Reserve. The reason this is coming to Council is we need, under the Reserves Act, a resolution of Council acting under delegated authority for the Minister of Conservation. So straightforward, no issues from management's point of view, no impact on the reserve. So take the report as read and answer any questions if there are any.
Sure. Okay, open up for questions. Councillor Gregg.
Yes, through the Chair. Two questions. How long are the works expected to take, and also will it affect traffic around the clock tower?
There is wider works around the clock tower. So this particular item relates to the reserve. So there will be other works around the clock tower reserve in the roads, and that'll be subject to approval by Council's transportation team in terms of traffic management. So I can't quote exactly how long this particular work on the reserve will be.
Councillor Simpson.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. When is the work scheduled to take place?
Look, it's quite soon, but they want to get on with it. It's part of wider works.
Thank you.
Councillor Brown.
I suppose it's possibly more of a comment than a question. No problems from like a governance perspective, but just sort of with a local representative hat on. If there's works going on, people are going to be curious. So just be good to have some comms, and I don't know whether that sits within Unison, our remit or Unison's remit, but just from projects that we've had before, comms on site is helpful, and then some comms online, linking it to our priorities about being more like building our resilient city as in line with our priorities would be.
Through the Chair, we can communicate with Unison on that.
Yes, and also work with the roading team with their other works that they're undertaking there as well.
Okay. Any further questions? Okay, so I'll go to the officer's recommendation, which is to approve consent under the delegation, the Minister of Conservation, to grant the above easement and to approve the works. Can I get a mover for that, please? Councillor Simpson, Councillor McGrath, would you like to speak to that, Councillor Simpson?
Yeah, just in support, anything to improve the resilience within our city.
Councillor McGrath?
Nothing yet.
Okay, so if there's no further comments, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Carried. Okay. So, number 2, agenda item. Sorry. Miniani Awatoto Water Main. So we have Anu and Philip here to present that. When we have a PowerPoint, that's always good.
This is just to give an update on the Miani Awatoto Water Main project, which is one of the major projects we did in the water space, and it's ongoing.
Sorry, Nick, could you move your microphone closer, mate, please?
Just bring the
Yeah,
microphone.
thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you. It's a bit of a background of the project. This is a combined project for achieving multiple requirements in water space. The one was provide water supply to Miani School, and Miani School and the community center. The existing water supply to Miani School is from a bore, which is a non-compliant bore. Where we considered different options, including adding a treatment plant, but that was very expensive, and we came up with the combined solution of extending the pipeline from Erickson Road. And there was a level of service issue at the end of Teva Avenue. Then we extended that pipeline from Erickson Road to Teva to improve the level of service at Teva. So key benefits from this project is improved level of service at Teva, water supply to Miani School, water supply to Miani Sports Center and Community Hall, and water supply to Miani Speedway, residential water supply to Awatoto and Miani. The construction cost for that project is, for the Miani Awatoto main was 2.2 million, and variations basically from the cleaning of the mains, which was contaminated from the Cyclone Gabriel, was around 0.2 million, and the Sandy Road extension is around 3.3 million. The picture up there is showing the existing water network of Napier, and this is what we added to the network. And it's a more close view of the project, what we did. The first part is an extension of water main from Erickson Road to the Miani School and the community center. And the second portion was an extension from that proposed main to Teva. This section is currently being under construction, and the Awatoto Miani School supplies, and the construction is already completed and waiting for commissioning. And the last portion is an extension to the Miani Speedway. So this the first photo up there showing the pipes purchased on 2020 June, and it was stored near the treatment plant, wastewater treatment plant. Then during the cyclone, it got contaminated and flooded. The second picture showing an aerial of what happened after the cyclone. So there was a decontamination methodology proposed, and that's how we decontaminated and tested the pipes. to make sure the pipe is safe to use. So the key dates for this project were June 2022, the pipe purchased. February, the pipe contaminated from the flooding. And 23 September, the construction contract awarded to Drainways. 23 December, the pipe disinfected and the construction started. That photo is showing the decontamination process of the mains. And the second picture is showing the construction along Erickson Road. The project is expected to be completed and commissioned by end of August. The project team was included as Stantec was included for the design scope. Becca did the project management and contract management, and Drainways as the construction contractor. A few photos from the project which I want to show. That was the pipes joined for directional drilling near the Avatoto bows. That is how the pipe was pulled to the road for inserting through the drilled hole. Extension of the same. That's how it was getting installed along Avatoto Road. That's a directional drill machine doing the drilling work. And that's a billboard we installed on Teva to inform the public. That's joined in the PE pipe. That's how the connections and joints being done near Teva at the moment. It's ongoing. That's a pigging point for future cleaning purposes. Another photo from Miani School with the directional drilling of the last piece of water supply to the Miani School. A couple of more photos of directional drilling, and that is the Katakia Ridge led by Chad. And he was explaining a bit of the history of the land and significance of the history. Yeah. The long-term plan is to provide water supply to our total industrial area, which will be a separate project, and water supply to Miani, our settlement zone, which we need to get some of the other projects we currently under planning needs to be completed, including the reservoir project and rising and falling main to the hills. Any questions?
Open up for questions. Councillor Crystal.
Through the chair. So the properties along Awatoto Road and things, are they getting water from this, or is it just going through and into the school?
The key purpose of this project is mainly to provide water supply to the school, but in long term we can provide water supply to the properties along Awatoto Road and Sandy Road.
Yeah.
But at the moment, the problem is we're having a level of service issue because that's the farthest end of the end of Napier, which is currently being supplied from Enfield Reservoir. So once we have new reservoir and the proposed rising and falling mains, I think that will be improved and we can consider providing more connections from there. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Grigg.
Yes, through the chair. Just in reference to the small water supplies being currently not compliant with the water standards, just a question of clarification. Are they currently unchlorinated?
Through the chair, that is correct, yeah.
Thanks. Thank you.
Mayor Wise.
Thank you, through the chair, and I guess sort of following on from Councillor Crystal, and just looking at your long-term plans there. So with regards to that Miani settlement, is the intention for the likes of Parsons, Maltby, Gavin Black, etc., to eventually be connected to our reticulation as well? Because they're all on board at the moment.
Not at the moment, but if we need to include that, I think we need to create another project and we need to extend those mains to those areas where they need water supply. And I just think there may be a public consultation and we need to know what they need actually.
Okay, so
Yeah,
subsequent question. Oh, yes.
sorry.
Oh, no, no,
Through the
go.
chair, yes, no, the intent of this project was really to supply water to Napier's assets that have non-compliant water,
Right.
not the bigger encompassing picture around the community.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you. So further to that then, those private properties, residential properties, they're not required under the New Zealand drinking water standards to be in the reticulated network. Are they still okay to have private bores?
Through the chair, yes, properties are allowed to have their own supply and they are exempt from the drinking water rules provided they don't supply other properties. So a single property can supply its own water and doesn't need a water safety plan. However, if you're supplying water to other people, then that's when the rules kick in.
So further questions then, because I am aware within that area and Jervoistown as well, there are bores that supply multiple properties. Do we have a work program in place to assist those property owners? Because obviously that's something quite onerous for them to actually produce their own water safety plan. What is the process in place for them to be able to achieve that?
Through the chair, I could probably answer that one. At this point, we don't have a plan for extension into Jervoistown. We are aware of a number of private water supplies that do meet those conditions, and there was a regional report done identifying those properties with our neighbours as well. That is one of the things we haven't had that conversation with Taumata Arawai as to how they want to handle those private supplies, and because there is it's about how the risk is managed for those properties and how it's maintained for public health purposes. So we haven't heard of any problems with those supplies as such, and that's typically when we'd get involved in looking at extension to help improve the health of those supplies. So we have yet to have those conversations with those private water suppliers. We did take an opportunity to have a talk to, there's a Phillips Road residential supply just by the golf course there as well. So we've been talking to them about an opportunity to hook on. But it's really, it's just talking to those people in charge of those supplies. So.
Is there a time frame that those property owners have to have a water safety report?
I can elaborate through the chair. Central government is currently proposing changes to the rules to alleviate that pressure on what would be deemed a small supplier. So that has been signalled quite clearly from central government. When that happens is uncertain, but they've kind of at this stage indicated maybe later this year. So I think they'd given till when the rules came in November 2022, they'd indicated sort of a 5-year window-ish.
That's useful. Thank you very much.
Councillor Simpson.
Yeah, through you, Mr Chair. Just to clarify our policy position on that, I see, I recognise the opportunity to put a large main in from one of our new bores. That's pretty simple. I recognise the opportunity to create a loop in the network for resilience and contingency planning. I just want to check if that pipe now passes within 50 metres of a dwelling or a property. Our policy currently says that if water supply is available and you're not connected, you're liable for half of the fixed water charges. So my question is, if the opportunity was ours to simply put this facility in, but not to drive additional connections, where does our policy sit on the charging of the fixed charges for water supply in this situation?
Yeah, through the chair. No, good question. Because of the demand, its sole purpose was around meeting drinking water standards for those facilities that we ran. So the decision around the impacts of those ratings or those half charges is yet to be finalised. The other councils that I've worked for and have done the same thing, we've chosen not to charge those areas, and so it's the conversation I've had with the team as to how we interpret that and how we make that recommendation to the council, because the pipe was designed without those connections in mind, and so therefore you could then suggest and state that the water availability for those connections is not there, even though there is a pipeline there. So it wasn't the intention to extend the network to increase the rating base, but there may be some properties that wish to connect due to maybe their bores maybe having some issues or the cost of repairs, and they may see it an advantage to connect. So I've asked the team to think about that as a process too, and how we might manage that, and what does that do to the design of that pipeline, because so that it's still maintaining the sole purpose of meeting the needs of the hall and the school and the domain properties that we look after. So I'm expecting another piece of work to come out of the water team and hopefully answer those questions for you. So at this point in time, I don't believe we're charging. We haven't indicated that we're rating for them, those properties, have we?
Sorry. There was a couple of questions from a few property owners. Some of them were keen to connect because of their bore conditions, and few of them were like, they have got new bores and they don't want to connect at the moment, and they asked the question, are you going to charge as per the rating policy? But we still have, we are in response to those questions, and we need to take that decision whether we are going to charge or not, but most probably we won't charge.
So I think we'll probably bring a paper back for that one. Yeah, Councillor Simpson, so you make a very, very valid point.
Yeah, well, I think if we have a policy and we're not going to be applying that policy, we need to make sure we have a variation approved for that process.
Absolutely.
Just a question from me, with those people that have asked if they can join up, do we have capacity within the pipe for them?
So for residential connection, it won't be a big problem.
Okay.
We can manage, but for industrial, there was our irrigation we cannot afford at this stage.
That makes sense. Deputy Mayor Brosnan.
Two questions, thank you, through you, the Chair. Just clarifying, in your answer to that previous question, Russell, you mentioned the pipe was not designed for future connections. Just clarifying, because there was a comment there that residential connections will not be a capacity issue.
Through the Chair, yeah, what Russell's asked us, it wasn't designed to, it was designed for the three facilities we've talked about, but there are alternative means of supplying water without the traditional connection, like a full pressure connection. So it's potential that we can put a trickle feed with a tank system or something like that. That's potentially an option we haven't investigated in detail yet.
Yeah, thank you. Just to clarify, I think my question is around, have we installed a pipe without thinking about its future capacity needs potentially? Or is it mainly a pressure issue, meaning we can't, size of pipe or pressure issue?
Yeah, to clarify that, there was a discussion early on in the design around its purpose, and the main goal was to supply potable water that met the drinking water standards for those, to replace those bores for those facilities. The opportunity of putting in a larger pipe for potential development out in those areas was discussed, and we chose not to design that into the pipeline, because without having that demand on the pipeline, there'd be a lot of water sitting there, and it would defeat the purpose of providing healthy water at the end of the pipeline, because it would become stagnant, and we'd need that demand to turn that water over. So the option was to look at if there was a future demand in that Miani Awatota area, was to have a secondary main come in from another part of the network to bring in more water demand if the growth needed it and warranted it. And the district plan hadn't indicated that we were looking to grow the city in that area in terms of urban development, so we felt that to just stick to just supplying the water for those bores alone. So.
Thank you, that clarifies. My original question through you, Mr. Chair, was being that the scope of this project was to supply potable water to non-compliant Napier assets, how many other projects or how many other assets do we have non-compliant water supplies to that we need to implement a similar process?
Through the chair, I can't answer that question right at the moment, but as far as I'm aware, yeah. But as a whole, we are missing compliance as per the paper Anjay brought to sustainable. There's areas of our current network that don't meet compliance. So,
sorry, just to add to that, yeah, I believe those were the supplies that we owned and operated and supplied water to, like lessees or our neighbours. So we had the hall that was supplied to the school, and so my understanding is that those were the only ones that sort of met that criteria. But we'd have to look further, and it was through our reserves team and the halls team that we found those two particular supplies to take advantage of.
Okay, thank you. That'd be good to include maybe in the project reporting if there is additional non-compliant.
Correct, yeah. And that might be something that the regional work we did, it might be good to come back and summarise our those supplies that fit inside Napier's boundary.
Thank you.
Okay.
Councillor McGrath.
Yeah, just through the chair, more a localised question, I guess. We're taking the water supply to the Speedway?
Yes.
Yep. And will that supply be available to the whole of the Papakura domain, all the is it riding for the disabled or whatever it is, as well as the Speedway and the other clubs there? Is it just one hook in, or are they using multiple bores?
I could, that is one bore system for all of those lessees, so all of the Papakura domain, and that's, so we'll be,
Any further questions? I'll just compliment you on very thorough paper there. We love pictures and presentations, so that's fantastic. Thank you. Okay, so I'll just move to the officer's recommendation, which is just to receive the report. Can I get a mover, please?
Through you, Chair, are we adding to that we want a further report on the
It's been noted.
variation?
Yep,
Okay.
it's an action item.
Yep,
Yep,
I'm
thank
happy
you.
to move.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Simpson. So, were you happy to move that, Councillor
Yes.
Simpson? Or yep, and Councillor Crystal? Would you like to say anything there, Councillor?
Yeah, no, again, it's just that resilience of our communities, the ability to enhance water supplies and meeting new standards, I think are important benchmarks for us to achieve. Thank the team.
Councillor Crystal?
Just agree with what Councillor Simpson said. It's good to see us getting this safe water to, especially the schools. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so I will put that motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you, Anu. And Philip, you're still remaining with us for your one. So, number 3, which is Bayview Water Main Pipeline Leak and Repair Update.
again, a nice picture show, hopefully, if I can find it. Kia ora anyway. Obviously, some good news this week. The pipeline went back into service. So again, just asking through the chair for the council to receive my report as read. And I'll just show you through a few pictures from the project. So on the 15th of April, there was a break in the pipe, which flows from the pump station on Lagoon Farm through under the estuary. It's generally a primary feed to Bayview. So we have the 2 pump stations, the one at Lagoon Farm and the West Shore. I don't know if you can kind of see there, but it's showing where the pump was running at its normal speed, and then and that orange line shows the flow rate spike quite high. And at the same time, the green line at the bottom shows flow starting to come from the offline pump. So that really clearly indicates the time when the pipe popped and because of the depressurisation of the pipe, the flows spiked. Later in the day, that was the next day, the 16th, you can see the lines drop, and the orange and green line are kind of trending that with both pumps offline, there's actually quite a substantial amount of flow pushing from the network through the pumps down into that cracked pipe, just because there was no pressure resisting. This is a little footage of the actual area above the leak in the estuary. So the leak itself had scoured a little bit of the silty stuff out. It was a hole, I think it was about 600 millimetres deep and about 1 metre across. Feel free to ask any questions as I go, or wait to the end. This is kind of just the aerial footage round about where the break was. Obviously not an ideal place to repair. One of my colleagues pointed out that I'd omitted to put a photo of the actual crack in, so we did have actually CCTV the pipe to make sure it was intact, but there was a clear crack in that position indicated that was along the top of the pipe. It was approximately 3 metres long, so it had split lengthways open. I mean, the crack wasn't open at the time, but you could see a clear crack. I'm just explaining that I've managed to not put a picture of that in there. This is how they repaired it. So the PE pipes, similar to the Miani Awatoto, they welded one long string of pipe together, 320 metres, so 32 10-metre lengths. And yeah, they pushed thread the directional drill rig down through the existing pipe with the break in it, and then they used the drill to drag the new section of pipe through, basically like using it as a conduit. This is just a rig where they set up for pressure testing the newly installed string of pipes. So they basically bring the pipe up to pressure and hold it at certain pressures to see the decay and that it's holding. This is a photo following the final connection. So the new pipe obviously slightly smaller diameter than the existing one to fit it through. So there's a picture, there's like a reducer there, and you can barely see the PE, new piece of PE at the top. So yeah, once they connected the new pipe, that was the flushing that happened on Monday this week. So we flushed the entire pipeline from the Lagoon Farm pump station right through to Onehunga Road in Bayview, and flushed several pipe volumes through, and did carry out micro sampling just to ensure that we had a clean pipe. And Tuesday afternoon, the pipeline was brought back online. Just over 2 months, I think it might have been 9 weeks to the day. So, yeah, it's been a fairly huge effort from the team and our teams in council and the contractors to get this pipe back online. And we're pretty happy to have that resilience back with the backup pump station available. And question time.
Councillor Crown.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. Kia ora, Phil. First of all, congratulations to you, the team, contractors, everyone. I love it when you see a date in there for a return to service and it goes to plan. So congratulations to you guys. And also thank you for the internal comms that we've received throughout the project. I think that that has provided us with a good level of assurance and understanding as to where you're up to with the project. So my question is actually on the other side of that with the community. So I just want to understand, what were the comms like? How did this potentially impact our residents, and what have the comms been like, and have we had response from the community on this project?
Yeah, through the chair, as of the day that we learned, we kind of did recognise the significance of this issue, and knowing that there was so many unknowns, we really needed to get good comms in place, and one of our controls for sort of curbing the demand was putting the level 4 restrictions on, which we knew wasn't going to be incredibly well received given it was in the middle of April. Yeah, but all in all, I think it's been pretty positive. Our comms team has done an amazing job of keeping the public informed, giving them solid reasonings why. Yeah. If that answers the question, I think.
It does, part of it, yes, thank you. And if I may just, a subsequent question. And so did we receive many incoming inquiries from residents in the area throughout the project?
Through the chair, yeah, I believe there was quite a few. Yeah, there was quite a few inquiries around why we were forcing restrictions and things like, and what the reasoning was, and how long it was going to be before it was returned to service. Yeah.
Oh well,
Yep.
it's when we don't see something show up in the paper, it certainly tells us that we're doing a good job in the area. So thanks to the comms team as well.
Councillor Simpson.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, just a question on the actual pipe failure. Do we understand what caused the pipe failure, and does that pose a risk with any of our other piping infrastructure?
Through the chair, yeah. We don't have a really detailed understanding. That type of failure mode isn't that uncommon with that material. It's not, and it wasn't that the pipe was really old, but it may have been. It could have been from a time when the material batch was not great. Yeah, there's a raft of reasons. Given we can't actually access the failed piece of pipe to remove it and get it analysed, that's probably not, weakens our ability to dive too deep on that as well.
Councillor Brown.
Yeah, through the chair, just with the narrower pipe, does that reduce the level of service we can provide out to Bayview, or does it stay about the same?
Through the chair, yeah, we haven't. We may see some slight reduction in our summertime flow rates. Yeah, that's yet to be determined, but the current the flow that we're getting through the current pipe is matching pretty closely to what we were getting pre the break. That a lot of that's due to the sizing of the pumps at the pump station.
Any further questions or discussion? No, so we'll go to the officer's recommendation, which is just to receive the report. And can I get a mover for that, please? Councillor McGrath, seconded by Councillor Simpson. Would you like to speak to that, Councillor McGrath?
Yes, just through the chair. I'd like to reiterate what Councillor Crown said. Your communication to us was really good, really well received, and you probably set a benchmark now for the future. So if by chance we happen to have another issue, we look forward to the comms. So, well done, team.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, just an endorsement. I think it demonstrates how well council respond in times of crisis. Thank you.
You know, definitely that was very well done. Okay, so I will put that motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you.
Yes. So we'll move on to item 4, which is amendment to 2024 meeting schedule of standing committee and council meetings. And we're going to have Anna for that. As procedural. Yep.
Yeah, happy to move.
Hi. Kia ora, everyone. I'll take the report as read.
And I think we have a mover over here, Councillor Brown, and seconded by Councillor Taylor.
Oh.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you, Anna, for that cardio. Item 5, we've got Andrew Leboida presenting Local Water Done Well Regional Recovery Agency Terms of Reference. Thank you, Andrew. Take it away.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Happy to take the report as read. Unfortunately, no fancy pictures from me. So this report is just in regards to the recent announcement of introducing Bill number 2 of central government's Local Water Done Well legislation. What we're seeking to do is utilize our current partnership and the expertise of the Regional Recovery Agency to act as a coordinator to investigate a regional approach to local water done well. What I'm seeking here is the adoption of the terms of reference, which have been appendices to this report. With that, it's endorsing the utilization of a project manager to take the program through for a regional approach to local water done well, endorse the $500,000 of council funds for budget. Of that, I did outline $329,500 is actually unspent previous council transition support, and then just support us through Manifeno engagement, council officer expertise. But then also noting that as legislation progresses, there could be amendments made to the terms of reference to suit as needed. Local water done well is the recent iteration of water reform that has been existing. There's some good history within Hawke's Bay, starting with some Morrison Low work back in 2018, 2019. This is not really continuation, but some of that is foundational that will be utilized going forward with the Regional Recovery Agency. One thing to note as well is that adopting the terms of reference would not lock council into proceeding with the Joint Water Services Delivery Plan or a regional approach. It's simply just allowing us to put together the business case to allow elected officials to make an informed decision on the matter. Outlined some of the issues and potential risks, noting that funding is a potential risk. No additional funding has been made available to councils to implement this. So one thing we would be looking to do is potentially narrowing the scope of the terms of reference, such as public consultation, that would then fall on individual councils to conduct. Happy to take any questions on the report and the terms of reference.
Mayor Wise.
Thank you, through the chair. Firstly, it's great to have this paper before us and actually see the work program that's going to be in place for further investigation into local water done well. So very timely, I think. Now, noting that we will be putting $500,000 of council funds towards this work program, $329,500 of which is unused transitional funding. How is the balance of $170,500 actually being funded?
Yes, that will yet to be determined. It will be coming from Three Waters, but we're kind of working through that right now of how we're going to phase that budget.
Okay, so within an existing Three Waters budget, but you're just
Yes.
trying to identify exactly how that's going to be phased in and without it impacting, I guess, on other requirements within the Three Waters team.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Councillor Crown.
Thank you through you, Mr. Chair. Tēnā koe, Andrew. Thank you. The Mayor pitched one of my questions, but luckily I had another one up my sleeve. So, sorry, just bear with me. There's lots of terminology, and as you alluded to, the iteration has changed along the way as well. So the 379,000-ish, that is from council transition package. So what we're asking for the RRA project manager to do aligns with what we would have used that portion of funding for anyway, is that correct?
Yes, through the chair, that is correct.
Okay.
That funding was from the previous government's water reforms transition. When that was repealed, that funding was not made available. what central government has now done is release their own funding mechanism, which is called the Local Water Done Well Support Package, which pretty much just takes your unspent transition funding and then funnels it through this new funding support package. But the scope of work and the intent of spend remains the same.
Thank you. And just subsequent to that, so I'm just seeking assurance that there are no projects that have been tagged in our work programs against any of that money that now we cannot deliver on. It's just exactly the same stuff. So that's not like, it's not better off funding, it's not that portion of funding or anything. It's just for exactly the same purpose.
Yeah, through the chair, that is the same purpose. Previously, there was the suggestion that we could redirect better off funding if we had chosen to. As a council, we had notified them that there was no intent from council to redirect our better off funding, and that is still to be directed towards where it is at the moment.
Thank you.
Councillor Brown.
Yeah, just further to that through the chair. What will the process be? Because it's $170,000, so I'm guessing you're going to have to not do something. Will that come back through us when you're reshuffling budgets? Or, like, I suppose along the lines of what Councillor Crown was looking for, looking for certainty that things that we've promised in our, or about to promise in our LTP, if they change, we need to know about it.
Yeah, through the chair. Traditionally, when we've had to do that as staff, we do that through the financial reporting that comes through the quarterly reports. But we can definitely make note of and send out a notice to how we've managed that through the budgets, if that's the wish of the council.
And supplementary, in terms of the timeline, I see it's December this year before we decide if we're going to do a regional approach or go it alone, for lack of a better word. Does that leave us enough time if we don't go with the regional approach for us to do it in-house? And if we had to do it in-house, do we have resources and money available to do it within that timeframe?
Yes, through the chair, we are conducting our own investigation at the moment. It's very early days, but obviously, being a risk to council that if this does not proceed, we need to have ourselves looked after. So that is a piece of work that we are undertaking. We're resourced internally to do a lot of that work without the need of external consultants to drive that. Realistically, I think we'll get a better idea of what's going to really be entailed with that work when this bill is passed in what's tipped to be August, when then central government will release more details of what is actually required to formulate your water services delivery plan.
Councillor Simpson.
Yeah, through you, Mr Chair. I've got three questions. First one, I just want to clarify the detail in the report. I noticed the 500,000 figure doesn't mention GST, whereas the second figure, 329,500, does indicate plus GST. What's the position of the 500,000? Is that plus or less GST, or?
Through the chair, I don't have that specific answer.
Yeah, okay.
I might have to...
The question's really, it's a material one, whether that has an impact or not, and whether that increases our financial risk associated with the project. My second question is around keeping it local, and we have just seen two demonstrations of our organisation doing water very well. So along the lines of Councillor Brown's questions, my second question was we are creating, so I'll be more definitive in my question, we are creating our own business case to, if we wish to, continue with our own water services.
Through the chair, yes, that's correct. We'll be looking at business case, financial modeling, scrutinizing our asset management plans to see if that is feasible for council to go it alone, but then also looking at what a regional approach would look like.
Thank you. And my third question, I hear discussions in Wellington around the previous government's funding around water and the grants they were issuing, and there are some proposals that suggest that any projects that are not water related, but we're going to be funded through those previous grants, may be withdrawn. Have we got any projects at risk that we were going to do which aren't directly water related, that we're going to use the previous water funding model?
Through the chair, the only funding I'm aware of would be the Better Off, but in my understanding, we have no projects at risk with this funding.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Councillor Brown.
Through the chair, I understand why it makes a lot of sense to look at this regionally. I think there's a lot of efficiencies to be made. Just sort of wanting to have a quick comment on sort of why the RRA, and how does that sort of fit in with Matariki and some of our other regional governance groups?
Yes, through the chair.
Kia ora, through the chair. I didn't feel that was probably, so I'm the lead CE for the Local Waters Dunwell, so I have oversight of the project. I actually asked the RRA to do that because they've been exceptionally proactive and had some great results around the recovery. They have the access into central government and are able to make those connections that we wouldn't be able to do otherwise, and I think they're probably in the best place in terms of, at this phase, it's only for us to get to the point of the business case. It's not about them actually standing up the water entity, that this is the most efficient and cost-effective way for us to move forward because of the work they've already done and the connections that they've done. So that's why the RRA. It is a change to their original remit, and that was agreed with their board. And their board is also talking to Matariki as well around how that governance works. But fundamentally, this will be each individual council that has to make the decision whether they go forward once the models have actually been populated. So the decision still sits with our council, but RRA are effectively just running the project for us.
Brilliant.
Any further questions? So I'm just going to get that recommendation board up now. Is there a level of comfort with not having 500,000 plus chairs still excluding there in the room, or should we get confirmation on that?
Through the chair, we could get confirmation, but typically any financial information presented to us is exclusive of chairs.
Yeah.
That's perfectly fine then. Okay. All right, so that's the officer's recommendation up there, so I'll ask for a mover, please. Councillor Crown, seconded by Councillor Brown. Would you like to speak to that, Councillor Brown?
Just briefly, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think this is actually a really good use of the RRA, and just want to acknowledge their willingness to take it on as well. I think everyone around the table is well aware of the speed, the connections, things that we've been able to achieve by working together through them as the portal when dealing with central government, especially since the cyclone. So I'm really comfortable. I'm comfortable with the split as well, seeing Hastings match us and our smaller communities come to the table and make a contribution there as well. I'm really looking forward to seeing a decision sometime soon. I think December's pretty, it'll be here before we know it. So it's great to get this piece of work underway. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Crown. Councillor Brown.
Yeah, thank you. I think Sally's said everything. I think the timeline looks great and reasonable, and it sounds like they've got a really good sound process ahead of them. So it looks really good.
Excellent. There's no further. All right, I will then put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Okay, and that comes to the end, so I will now adjourn the meeting and have a 5-minute break until we're not going to have a break, I'm afraid. No, we're going to get straight into future Napier with
I'd like to open the future Napier meeting for Thursday, June the 20th, 2024, and just remind everyone that it's still being live streamed on Council's Facebook page. We have apologies from Councillor Bogue and Councillor Price. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councillor Mawson and Councillor Tariha. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
And do we have any conflicts of interest? No. Announcements by myself. I'd just like to acknowledge the passing of Ivan Smart, who worked for the City Council at the Napier Aquatic Centre for 30 years. He was a much-loved member of the team and a really great role model for the lifeguards. Apparently used to swim many lengths of the pool most days, so I just acknowledge his passing. Do we have any minor matters not on the agenda? No. And any announcements by management?
Yes, thank you. And I'd like to acknowledge the sad passing of Madge Ormond, who was a beloved team member of ours. She served the city uncomplainingly for just nearly 21 years and suddenly passed away the weekend before. She was a beautiful woman, and a lot of people know her because she was out in our CBD every day, and we certainly miss her a lot. Thanks.
Thank you, Rachel. So now we've got the confirmation of minutes from Thursday the 16th of May 2024 for the future Napier Committee, be taken as a true and accurate record. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Taylor, Councillor McGrath. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you for that. Right, moving on to our first item, which is the City Strategy Key Projects Update. And we have Paulina.
So this paper is, yes, come on up, guys. This paper is our quarterly update to you on key projects within City Strategy, and I do have George, Paulina and Darren here to work us through the paper. There's a number of items in the paper, and to be able to sort of chunk it down, I thought we could maybe start with Te Aka and the officer accommodation with Darren, and then we can take any questions, and then we can move on to Emerson Street and the Waka Hub with George, and then take any questions, and then any remaining items, or all of the remaining items with Paulina, and we can take any questions on those. So, yeah, I'll hand it over to Darren. Thank you.
Morena, councillors, first of all, I am not taking any questions today on the performance of the Scottish football team. It may be affecting my performance, unfortunately. So this morning I just want to give a quick overview, though it seems like it's only a couple of weeks since I did on Te Aka and the officer accommodation. The critical part here is we've got basically three components of a project now coming together. We've got our officer accommodation, we've got Te Aka, which is essentially library, council customer services and the chambers, and then public realm being delivered hopefully as one project. There's major benefit to do that, so we need to understand what that looks like in cost. So when I come back to you next, I am coming in on budget. That is the aim of the team. So the design is at the end of developed design for Te Aka. We're in the early stages of preliminary design for the officer accommodation. So it's about aligning those projects as best as they can to get the best outcome for council around the spend on that project and delivering it at the same time, and going out for one main subcontractor, one lead contractor to deliver that as one lump sum, which will have major benefits for our community with the flow through of that spend as well. Design is going well. We'll look to come back to you guys with looking for approval around the developed design of Te Aka and of the prelim design of the tower on the 15th of August, and that will come up with an updated cost plan as well. So you'll see the breakdown of cost across the whole precinct and the key individual items that make up that cost plan. So that is where the project is at the moment. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions? All good? Looks like you're off the hook.
Kia ora koutou. Just with regard to Emerson Street upgrade, reminding everybody just the project objectives are to improve the safety and accessibility of our city's main retail street, to improve the resilience of Emerson Street by replacing the aged wastewater pipe, which dates back to pre-earthquake days, and improving our stormwater capacity with rain gardens, and also to improve wayfinding and operational flexibility to make Emerson Street a safer and more accessible destination. So the design team have reached 75%, and you were here for that workshop. That was on the 9th of May, so this update's a little bit dated now, I guess, in some ways. The workshop discussed both the proposed operational changes to Emerson Street, such as directional traffic flow, service delivery hours, managed road closure opportunities, that sort of thing, as well as design detail of key features such as lighting, seating, paving patterns, and so forth. The key tasks over the next period are formalising that design concept, and we'll be bringing the concept design for approval to yourselves on the 1st of August. And there's also the commencement of cost and value management of the design concept by QS, and a compilation of the final package, which will then progress to detailed design for stages 1 and 2. So any questions on the Emerson Street upgrade?
Councillor Brown. Through the chair. It's great that we're doing, it's all tied in with the wastewater upgrade. I was just wanting to check that we're thinking about all the services that run through there and we're tying them all in, because I haven't heard drinking water or potable water mentioned.
So part of the due diligence is looking at all of our network. The drinking water pipe network is, I think, has 65 years left in it. Okay. So we're confident that that's in good state. But all of our underground infrastructure is always investigated before we undertake any design work. Yeah.
Just a question from myself. Being on Historic Places Board, just wondering, have you got heritage people actually involved in seeing this design?
Yes, we have. Okay. Yes, and we've been working with Michael Fowler also, who's been helping us with key information around things like the Troopers Memorial. But yes, we have been.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor Bronson.
Thank you very much. Through you, Madam Chair. Just a question from me around what our next decision point or touch point with the project is.
It is to do with approving the concept design for the entire length of Emerson Street. So we've undertaken the entire design in one, I guess, move. And then from there, we will be splitting it off and looking at develop and detailed design for stage 1 and 2. The reason for doing stage 1 and 2 means that we will have all the detail there ready, so that when we implement stage 1, we can then seamlessly move through to stage 2, which allows us to reduce any disruption in the main street.
Thank you. And supplementary to that, Madam Chair, what's your timeframe for us seeing or that decision point around concept design?
So concept will be being brought to you on the 1st of August for approval.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
Cool. Okay, so now on to the Waka Hub. The Waka Hub has, we've finished and completed the multi-criteria analysis, evaluating the alternative locations for the Waka Hub itself. Ngāma Nukunuka o Te Iwi and Council have all approved the preferred site and progressing to concept design. We now have a RFP, so request for proposal for design and engineering services out on GETS, and that closes on the 2nd of July.
Any questions? Question. Oh. Thank you. Through the chair.
As part of our deliberations on the 3-year plan, we had asked council officers to go away and talk to Atarangi Trust around the ownership of this asset and then flowing on from that, any potential lease arrangement. Have we had that conversation?
We have, yes, we have met with Aotearangi Trust, and their preferred model is for council to retain ownership of the asset itself and that they would lease that from us.
Thank you. Any further questions on the Moka? No?
Thank you.
Next.
And we'll move to Pauline.
Kia ora koutou. There's quite a few projects here in this update, so if it's okay, I would like to just highlight a couple of these ones. The main one is the district plan, related to the district plan review. We have notified an addendum of submissions to the district plan review and is currently out for public consultation and receiving further submission that would close on the 2nd of July. This is part of the process. Once the further submissions close on the 2nd of July, the officers are going to be working on producing the hearing reports. So the first sets of hearings have been scheduled for November, beginning of November, and then we have another session of hearings end of November and December as well. So the project is running according to plan, and we see that there would be about 20 days of hearings, including next year as well. The other project that I would like to talk about is the future development strategy. There has been a lot of work in relation with the developing the growth scenarios for the future development strategy, and the preferred scenario and options are going out to the joint committee on meeting on the 22nd of July for endorsement, so we can go out to public consultation. So that is the main milestone for that project. This has been in progress for the last 18 months, and we're hoping that the final FDS would be adopted at the end of this year. And in relation to the bylaw and policy review program, I would like to highlight also there has been quite a bit of discussion about freedom camping, and we have now scheduled that in the work program with the idea of notifying, bringing to you a statement of proposal for the review of the bylaw by mid-November, to notify that by mid-November for public engagement as well. So we're working on gathering the information, establishing the issues, and assessing what are the options, and then we will bring the option back to you before we go to the public, obviously. Those are the key 3 projects that I wanted to talk about, but I'm happy to answer any question on any of the other ones as well.
Councillor Taylor.
It's not a question. I'd just like to point out that there's an error in the paper related to the proposed district plan, and it needs to be amended. It wasn't notified in September 24. I don't think we've quite got to there just yet.
2023.
September
Apologies.
2023, so the paper is correct.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Taylor. Mayor Wise. Through the chair. Paulina, the future development strategy, it's my understanding we will be having a workshop for all of councillors. It's prior to that 22nd
Yes,
July.
25th of June, so that is next week.
Oh, is it next week? Cracking.
Yes.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yes.
Okay, that's great, because conscious
That is a
obviously,
workshop.
those of us that are representatives on the committee are very familiar with it, but pleased that the rest of the elected members will have an opportunity to actually have a look at what's going to go to that committee meeting next month. Thank you. Deputy Mayor Bronson.
Thank you very much through you, Madam Chair. Paulina, just a question around the bylaw review processes. You've noted those 3, which I assume are the only ones scheduled for review this calendar year. Is there an opportunity to bring those reviews together so that maybe we hold one set of consultation and ask for feedback around those? I'm just conscious of consultation fatigue if we're doing 3 bylaw reviews potentially this calendar year.
Through the chair, we can explore that. Yeah, however, one is the policy and the other one is a bylaw, but we can probably maybe align them.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we struggle particularly this year is the workload with the district plan and the FDS. So bringing them together might push all of them out just a little bit because we won't have the work capacity to do all 3 with those other work programs. But because Paulina and I did have a chat about this, but we can look at options and bring that back if you like, and to see what that would look like if we bundled them.
Yeah. Thank you. I think that would be a good exercise to undertake.
Any further questions for the team? Thank you, guys. It was a good update. So the officer's recommendation, the Future Napier Committee received the report titled City Strategy Key Projects Update, dated 20th of June 2024. Can I have a mover? Councillor Mawson, and seconder, Deputy Mayor Bronson. Would you like to speak to that?
No, I'll reserve my right, thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think really good updates. Thank you, team. There's some interesting and important projects in there. One of the things that I know we've been talking about as elected members is the district plan process, and so just wanted to highlight for anyone who may be listening that those further submissions are open and that it is a great opportunity to review. I know we often glaze over things like when we notify district plans, but there are often things that are submitted on that can have an effect on you. So just an opportunity for everyone to jump online and have a look at those further submissions as they're publicly notified and have your say. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Mawson?
Well said, thank you.
All right, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Motion's carried. So thank you, team. So next we have the resource consent activity update with Nick McCall.
Good morning.
Morning.
This activity update is for the period of 30 April to 6 June. Since there has been a 15% decrease in the number of resource consent applications lodged compared to the same period 12 months prior. On a positive note, the processing timeframes is sitting at or slightly below the 20 processing day requirement, statutory requirement. And at times we have had to utilise Section 37 to extend those timeframes. Summary table, a little bit light on interesting applications. So I've just got 2 additional ones noted, being Plurus Avenue, which is a NCC application for subdivision at Parklands, and a retrospective application at 149 Awatoto Road in Awatoto, relating to a landscaping business and a motorhome and storage business, which I'll elaborate on further. Regards to the previous applications, number 250 Westminster, so the Parklands bulk earthworks, that application is still currently processing, as with 530 State Highway 51 and the Kennedy Road billboard. 15 Owen Street is looking at nearing completion, and 42 Whiringi Road has been issued since preparation of this report. So that is quite a large subdivision off Whiringi Road. Cree Street is still processing, as is 68 Franklin. 11 Lever Street remains on hold, awaiting for payment of the notification deposit. And 162 Waghorn Street is still on hold, effectively. So regarding the 2 new applications, Plurus Avenue in the Parklands development is located at the end of Plurus Avenue and off Aspiring Drive. There's a picture there for your orientation. Resource consent is sought to subdivide the site into 30 vacant lots, ranging in size between 500 and 1,000 square metres. They will also be looking to vest 3 new public roads, and they're also looking at allowing for a little bit of higher density. And yeah, it relates to stages 11, 12A and 12B. and overall the application is assessed as a restricted discretionary activity. Regarding 149 Awatoto Road, this resource consent is to enable two activities that are currently operating, so it's a retrospective resource consent. Relates to a landscape business, which is utilising existing container shelter and is located at the rear of the property. And it also relates to the formalisation of a storage area for caravans, motorhomes and boats. There are some other activities occurring on the site, however these are outside the scope of this resource consent application. And there's a map on the back as well, and as you can see there's ample parking and a number of activities occurring on that site. Being that the site is zoned main rural, the commercial activities are a discretionary activity. And yes, I'll welcome any questions.
So any more questions? Deputy Mayor Bronson.
Thank you, Nick, for the paper. I just have a question, particularly around the application that's been sitting on hold awaiting payment of a notification deposit. Do you have an internal policy around how long you let applications sort of sit on hold before you consider unreasonable delay?
Unfortunately, the RMA is largely set up to favour applicants, so there's little we can do to encourage them along. We've made our decision, which is to publicly notify. And we can follow up with reminders and encourage, but effectively there's no RMA mechanism we can make to get them to withdraw their application.
In terms of ones that may have been sitting there for a particularly long time, we do write out and ask what their status is and things like that to encourage a decision to be made. But those are ones that have been sitting probably longer than the one that's on that table.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Councillor Taylor.
Thank you. Just in relation to 149 Awatoto Road, you put it as a retrospective resource consent. There have been caravans and things stored there for some considerable time, so that was unconsented. Is that correct?
Through the chair, yes, that is correct.
Was there an issue that arose that required our intervention and now a resource consent has been applied for?
Yes, I believe that it has been brought to our attention, and our compliance officers have visited the site, and that has resulted in this application being lodged.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Councillor Brown.
Yes, through the chair. Just noting some of these, the first date of application or lodgement date was like 12 to 18 months ago for some of them. Just learning, I suppose it's kind of an ignorance question. Is that normal for a resource consent? And is like are our customers, I suppose, kind of happy that things are tracking along in that space?
I guess these applications on the list are all the more complicated applications rather than the sort of run-of-the-mill stuff that is worked through more quickly. So all of these ones represent a reasonable degree of complexity, and as a result of that, they can go on hold for long periods of time. And it also comes down to the applicant's ability to satisfy Section 92 requests. And unfortunately, the RMA does not allow us to, well, it's difficult for us to move applications along. So some applicants do tend to wait for longer periods of time, and other applications will move more quickly. And for example, the 68 Franklin Road, that's 59 lots in a rural area adjoining the coast. So as you can imagine, quite chunky coastal reporting required, landscape assessments required. There's quite a bit to applications like that. So that would take quite a bit longer to get through.
Thank you. Just to expand on that, so, you know, the RMA deadlines we follow in terms of the clock ticks on the council, but often when we are requiring further information from the applicant, that's where it can be sat on hold for some time while those reports are being prepared, and those can be quite complex reports for those specialists to prepare for the applicant to then bring it back to us. So, yeah.
Cool. Any further questions? Okay, so the officer's recommendation is to note the resource consent activity update for period 30th of April 2024 to 6th of June 2024. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councillor Gregg. Deputy Mayor Bronson. Would you like to speak to that, Councillor Gregg?
No, thank you.
Deputy Mayor?
No, good report. Thank you, team.
Cool. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that report. So all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Carried. So now we are going to move into public excluded. So I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Tariha, Councillor Taylor. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.